Welcome to Seeking God, where we can consider the questions and stories regarding our faith. It has been a long time ago, a long time since someone came to me and said, there are three of us who want to do a backpacking trip, a 3-day trip in the mountains of western North Carolina. Would you like to join us? We were just acquaintances, but I thought this could be fun. And it would be nice to get to know these folks. So I agreed, and over the next few weeks we planned out who would bring what and what each of our contributions would be. The time came and we piled in one car and drove to someone's home in western North Carolina and spent the night. The next day they helped us to move that car to the end of the trail so that when we finished our trip we could pile in it and head out. Then they took us back to where we would begin. We made our preparations and we hiked a short distance that night to a shelter, and we camped in that shelter to begin in earnest the trip the next day. It was a wonderful 3 days that started out as a difficult time for me. Even though I was in pretty good shape, climbing the mountains and hiking up and down was much more strenuous than I had anticipated. Over time, it became easier, but over time we also met other challenges. It was early spring and it was cold at night. And on one occasion we climbed to the top of a mountain and the next morning and found that there was snow there. It was good times and it was bad times, and over the course of that trip, the four of us became friends. We learned how to reach out and assist each other. We picked up the slack when someone had to drop back, and we helped each other as we went. That trip has become for me a paradigm of life. It has helped me to see that life is a journey. It is not possible to live and not move. We cannot be stagnant. We cannot be still. We cannot in any way not move ahead as you and I live our lives. The most we can do to stop or to not move ahead is to resist it, to push against it, because we will always somehow be on a journey, a life journey. I think that's true also of our spirituality, our faith. From whatever our perspective, journey and trips, those are important aspects of who we are and how we live a faithful life. In some ways, it's part of our stories and our traditions. Think of the Hebrew Scriptures, where one of the most important journeys that is charted in those Scriptures is when Moses led the Israelites out of bondage in Egypt into the Promised Land. A journey that was filled with all kinds of joy as they left that land, and all kinds of challenges as they journeyed not for a few days or a few months or even a few years, but for 40 years in the wilderness. Until finally, when they got to the end of that journey, it was the end of the journey for Moses, and he could not go into its completion in the Promised Land. Journey is part of our spiritual traditions. It's part of what we offer as disciplines even outside of our scriptures. In Islam, one of the 5 pillars of faith is the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, a journey to Mecca. And in Christian tradition, we have various journeys, be they to return to Jerusalem, or, as St. Francis helped us to see, to walk the way of the cross, the Via Dolorosa, sometimes called the Stations of the Cross. In medieval times, we incorporated a pagan symbol, the labyrinth, into Christian life, a way to symbolize our journey to and into, a journey to God and a journey into ourselves, seeking God. Just like with life and our faith, we cannot be stagnant. The most we can do is to resist the change in our lives, the growth that we may have as we move toward seeking God and as we move toward God in some way. So journeys. This is how journeys are and how they go about. We start out our walks and everything seems fine. Then we meet challenges like batteries dying on cameras and having to change locations, or obviously, oftentimes more serious kinds of challenges in our lives. And just as we have those challenges in our lives, we have those challenges in our faith. And because of that, we move ahead, we change. We don't let the resistance come to play, because if we do, it only brings us more pain and more frustration as we meet our faith journeys and our life journeys. Faith is a journey. Our spirituality is a journey. Life is a journey. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Thank you for joining me seeking God.